Is generative AI going to take away all our art jobs? Yes! Look, us artists, creative types, we didn't do too well in maths at school, did we? But it doesn't take a mathematical brain to work it out. Generative AI is coming on in leaps and bounds. If you've seen video from Sora, which was released recently, then you know the game is up. It is quite amazing. There are characters in the background that have 6 fingers and do weird things with broken arms and stuff, but that will get better, because when you compare what you see now to what was just a year ago, there is no comparison. So what will a creative job be like in the future? Will you be needed for a start? Okay, let's assume you're creating a web page and you think, oh, I could do with a little picture there. In the old days of newspapers, you'd have to phone up an artist and say, can you draw me this? And they'd draw it and they'd bring it in. Maybe with a bit of luck by the end of the day, maybe the next day, maybe the next week. And then picture libraries built up, and then you got Google Images. You could just go and find something and cut it out and stick it in. But if you want something more bespoke, now, why would you not go to OpenAI and just type something and say, this is the picture I need, and up it comes. It's good enough. Most people would be quite happy with it. Most illustrations on a web page are there just to make it look pretty. Now, if you're writing a tweet or an Instagram post, obviously you want something a bit more catchy, and you're going to have to really work at creating that thing on ChatGPT, whatever, with your prompt. So you become a prompt artist. Is that satisfying? I don't think so. I've played around with it. I had an idea recently. I thought, rather than just look on Google Images to see what a caravan looks like, why not go straight in and say, can you draw me a really cute caravan? Because that's what I wanted to draw. And sure enough, doing, up came this beautiful, cute caravan. And I thought, that is lovely. That is lovely. And it is lovely because it is based on someone's style. I don't know whose. It's based on the style of somebody who spent years learning that style, developing. Other people have probably admired that style and developed it even more into this sort of generic kind of style. And the colours were pretty and it just looked really cute. And then I thought, wait a minute. No, that's not right. The wheel's not in the right place. The door is over the wheel arch. How are you going to get in? So I went back. I said, no, this is all wrong. You know, it doesn't work like that, because the wheel needs to be in the centre to get the balance right, and the door needs to be to the side, you know, so that you can get in. Oh, sorry. So off it went. It came back with this new one, equally pretty. And these 2 weird extra wheels had appeared. And so I said, that's not right. You don't have these wheels. And it kept insisting on putting these extra wheels in. So that's the state that we are in at the moment, obviously, but it will get better. And I'm sure if I'd pursued it and carried on refining my prompts, I would have got to the image that I wanted in the first place, but I could probably have drawn it a lot quicker. And writing prompts just doesn't really do it for me. There's something more to being an artist than just saying, here's a picture. It's the actual creative process. It's the doing things with your hands. It's the brain to hand kind of thing. It's the ideas. It's the moment. It's the flow. It's the experience of doing that makes it interesting to be an artist. To write a prompt and come up with something, that's a job, not satisfying. But commercial businesses don't really care about your art. They just want an image to slap up there, and away it goes. And I'm a children's book author and illustrator. One thing that's always irritated me is someone like Disney. And Disney, they make these fantastic animations, the work that goes into them, and then they make books from them. And they get some writer to churn out kind of a précis of the movie, and they just chuck in pictures. And that's kind of generative AI. And Disney books have always been really unsatisfying, but they sell because they got Disney over the top. And I think that is what artists have to do, is they have to put Disney over the top. They have to become a brand. You know, this is a thing that's been going, since the 80s, I suppose, the personal brand, the idea of it. Before that, it'd be ridiculous. A personal brand, that's ridiculous. But it's a thing that's grown and grown, certainly in the influencer world, and people are very happy talking about me and my brand. We have to think of it in a different kind of way. The concept of a brand came about mainly through food. In the old days, before government regulations and things, anyone could sort of make a loaf of bread with sawdust in it, just to pack it out and make it look bigger. In this country, we had this brand called Hovis, which is always had this, good, solid, hearty bread kind of brand. It's brown bread with wheat germ and bran and everything in it. And it's been going for a very, very long time. And it's always used this traditional e-bag, made from proper, honest stuff. Branding. You always knew that if you got a Hovis loaf, it wasn't full of sawdust. And that's why you would buy a brand rather than anything else. And it works now. When you go into a supermarket and there's a bottle with a white label on it, just says cola, are you going to buy that, or are you going to buy Coca-Cola? I think you're probably going to buy Coca-Cola, even though it's like a tenth of the price. You go, what's in it? Brands are there to tell you this is honest, this is what you get, and this is what you get consistently. I think in the short term, that is where artists have to go, and you have to really build your brand and let people know, this is me, this is what I do, these are my values, this is what I believe in, this is the life I lead. If you like my art, please somehow support me. And the way you used to support an artist was to buy a newspaper, buy a magazine, watch the TV program. It's getting more difficult to do that if people are slipping in AI generated artwork and not paying for an artist to create the work in the first place. One of my favourite podcasts is called Hard Fork. It's all about technology. I know, I'm really into technology, so I'm really conflicted about this whole thing. And they were interviewing a lady called Kara Swisher, who's written a book about tech stuff. And it's doing very, very well. It's a bestseller. And immediately, Amazon is full of copies of her book, not just copies, but AI generated sort of versions. And they thought, this is really good. Read this book, write me something similar. And then they've also come out with study books. So they said to AI, read this book and come up with a study book. And up it comes and probably generates a load of pictures and stuff, a cover, and slam it up onto Amazon. As a creative person, if you do something really creative, something new, something novel, something successful, you're going to just be swamped and covered by all this generative copycat stuff. Somehow you have to get this brand to stand up above it all and say, this is me, this is the real thing. And that is going to be difficult, and it's going to get more difficult because with Sora and all these generative programs, they're going to be able to generate personas and become brands themselves. And so you're going to be fighting this monstrous machine that appear to be real people, appear to be real artists, churning out fantastic artwork, amazing artwork. And you're going to think, oh, they're great, I want to support these people. And they're not real people. And you will never know. That is to come. At the speed things are going, it could happen any time. It's right on the doorstep, and we are facing tumultuous change. I don't know what we're going to do about it. I don't suppose you know what we're going to do about it. It's like this tsunami, tidal wave approaching us. Some people are going to manage to sort of jump up onto higher ground. Some people are going to be swept away by it, and maybe creative people and artists will go the way of candle makers. Candle making has been the trade that has often been referred to as the internet has taken over business, and seeing how when electric light came in, you didn't need to be a candle maker anymore. But there are still candle makers, and they're kind of making craft stuff. So maybe that is the thing of being an artist. And maybe there won't be jobs for artists. Maybe you won't be able to do art all day long and get paid for it. Except maybe through universal income, which is a whole other thing, which may come, may and may not. So we have to think of art as a human thing, something that you want to do, something that you need to do, something that you have to do, something that is about being there in the moment. And we just have to forget and separate out art from this whole commercial thing. So maybe now is the time to start thinking about getting a day job that will allow you to do your art at the weekends. Whatever happens, it's going to be a big change.